Tuesday night, the fourth Tuesday of the month, and that means we're back with more Beyond 2D.
Are we?
We are back.
Is it?
I am one of your hosts, Jessica Dugas, and this is my other fearless host over here.
Good evening.
Farron Dozier.
I'm Farron
The
Dozier.
other D.
The other D in the 2D. Yeah.
Love it.
Wow.
Love it. We've been diving deep into this conversation about communication the last few weeks, and we're gonna conclude our final thoughts on communication this evening. Though I'm sure it won't be final thoughts. I'm sure no matter where we go, because we've determined that communication is such a huge piece of our lives. And no matter what we talk about, I feel like communication is going to be a recurring theme moving forward.
It is going to tie into all of it.
All of it. All of it. Brittany's out there in the front row. She got her VIP pass this evening. Good to see you, Brittany. And I have a question for everybody, and I'm going to pose it to you first, Farron, but y'all can answer out in the audience as well. Since the first episode aired in the beginning of March, have you been more aware of both how you communicate and what you don't prefer in communication? Has communication been the front of your mind since the start of March?
Well, for me, it has no option but to be in the forefront of my mind because we're doing the show about it. So now
they don't need to know that.
I am well aware of my communication, and yeah, it's a very tricky world.
Yeah.
To play in communication.
Yeah.
Because I notice when I'm not doing it well, and I notice when other people are not doing it well. And then I notice that I don't say nothing about when they're not doing it well either.
That's what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you how you sort of navigate those waters, because that's something we haven't really touched on yet, is if you are in a relationship with somebody, or even if you just meet somebody and they're not communicating in a way that is appropriate or is effective, do you say something? And if you don't, why or why not? But you said you don't usually say, so why don't you?
I don't usually say something because if I really tell the truth to myself real quick, it's not that important. So then why even? Because it could lead into a whole nother direction.
Yeah.
And I predict those directions sometimes, but I said it's not even worth it. It's not really that serious for me to bring up. It's not life threatening, right? It's not like, I need a real answer to this moment. And sometimes, you know what? To be honest with you, sometimes it's me avoiding being rejected, or the experience of being rejected. So it's like it's mixed. So I have to catch myself to see where is it going and where is that coming from, and if it's really that serious that I need to say, hey, you know what, let's try this over, or this is what I meant to say. So that's kind of, and it's still like treading water for me, because I the experience of being rejected still is uncomfortable, and so I dance on that line still.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I get that completely, because I dance on that same line.
Oh, is that you over there?
Because look, and to be real with everybody, like I don't understand when people tell me that it never hurts them to be rejected by other people. Like I don't that doesn't resonate for me at all. So I don't understand that, because I think mostly as humans at our core, we want to be liked and heard and listened to and adored and loved, and we want to feel that. And so I don't get it when people aren't affected at all. I think they're putting on a good front.
They're pretending. Yeah, we pretend well as human beings, and that's something that we suffer in silence, right? So that's why I said I have to be honest with myself, and that's what I've learned. I have to be honest with myself first to see how important that is, and then what is my feeling, because you know we talk about what's your intention, like what's your intention, and that's tough because you're declaring an intention with someone in communication that may be, like I said, uncharted waters, or however you describe it, that you sometimes I just don't want to go there because I just feel like being that I don't feel like taking the risk to experience that, what we describe as rejection.
Right.
But it still goes back on me though. And that's
Right.
what our conversations to lead back to. It still comes
Yeah.
back on me on why I still have that fear or deal with that type of what I call rejection.
Yeah. I brought, it's so funny that you talked about that part of how you just don't feel like it's that important, so you don't say something, because I talked about something similar earlier in the week on Project Joy. The think acronym, the think before you speak. Is it true? Is it helpful? Is it important? Is it necessary? Is it kind?
I heard that.
Think before you speak, right? And I'm surprised I hadn't, because I love that acronym, and I'm surprised I didn't bring it up before now in this conversation about communication. But I I was sharing with everybody, I got that necessary piece down. Like, I don't say 95% of what's in my brain. Okay, people, if you think I talk a lot now, like, just imagine if I said everything that was going on up here, okay?
Whew.
But this last weekend, I had 4 different instances for me to practice communication, in instances when I would typically lean into that N and go, not necessary. I shouldn't say anything at all. But I had 3 opportunities to go, you know what? Or 4 opportunities to say, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say something this time. And I'm going to practice this art of communication that we've been talking about a little bit. And the one incident I will tell you is it's kind of a silly one, but I bring this up because it was very effective. There's inside the Kohl's department store here, there is a little store inside called Sephora. Ladies, you know that this is a makeup heaven, okay? You get the makeup there, but you go into Sephora and it kind of has a vibe. It's a little like higher end makeup. And typically, listen, I go out in my Walmart attire sometimes, all right? And because I'm running these kids on mom's taxi, going back and forth, and I just
right.
throw the hair up in a bun and I run out. So I don't give a crap what I look like when I go into Sephora, but Sephora has a vibe, okay? So I've been in there a few times, and not one time has a customer service person come up to me and ask me if I need anything. Do you need anything? Do you need help? Do you need, not once. And like the 5 or 6 times I've been in there. So I go in there the other day, and there was a couple other people in there. So I'm thinking to myself, getting in my ego, and I'm like, nobody going to help me again. I'm going to be trying to, because I'm short and I can't reach the things on the shelf and no one's going to help me. But a woman came over like a minute in and was like, can I help you with anything? And I was like, no, I'm good, but thank you for asking, and I go about my way. Well, finally I needed help with something, and I call her over. She comes right over. She helps me reach because I'm too short to see on the top, and helps me go in there. And I go to check out, and everything's great and wonderful. And I go to leave, and I'm like, no, you know what? And I turned back around and I said, ma'am, I just want to say thank you for helping me, because the last 5 times I've been in here, no one said a word to me.
Ow.
And she goes, first of all, I'm really sorry that was your experience. And second of all, I'm really glad you told me, because I'm the manager. So we could have both gone about our ways. She helped me. I was helped. We're all grand and good. But because I stopped and said something, it number one, she was happy. It made her day to hear that she was able to help me. And number two, now as a business person, she's able to say to her salespeople, you are missing the sale, boys and girls, because you are not helping your clients.
For real.
Okay. So it was that situation where typically I would lean on that. It's not necessary for me to say anything here. But because I did, that was able to, one, shift somebody's day, two, make me feel good in the moment for saying something, and three, shift their business.
And the people that's coming in the store behind you that have had that same experience.
And that's four.
Someone spoke up and you spoke up. So now it changes that culture, hopefully.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a good thing. Brittany said, I think I've always been pretty aware of communication, but I have learned some things in the show to help communicate better. I love that. And thank you for being proud of me. I was proud of me this last weekend too. I was like, I'm not going to be a doormat, Jessica, this weekend. I'm going to be more assertive and share my feelings and do it in a way that's respectful. You know, you don't have to be some kind of way when we communicate if it's a hot button topic or something that we know is going to push buttons a little bit, but
for real.
Yeah. Is there anything in particular that you have been more focused on since we've started the show as far as communication? Like, is there any big lesson you've learned or something that you've thought, hey, this is something that's going to really stick with me?
Yeah, I've learned that the neighborhood gardener comes over here at 3:00. And so I have to now put myself on mute so you don't hear the lawnmower going next to me. That's what I've learned in this communication conversation for the last 3 weeks.
And sometimes that's a good lesson to learn. Perhaps we should go out. So you should take your phone right now and go outside and be like, I know that you don't know me, but I want you to know I'm a big deal. I am the other D and beyond 2D. And I would certainly appreciate if we could find a different time to mow the lawn.
Really? Could we play some music instead? But yeah, that's what I've learned so far is the lawnmower man.
That's it. That's it.
No, that's not it. So at least if you hear the lawnmower in the background of this conversation,
I actually can hardly hear anything.
Oh, well, praise the Lord.
Yeah, it's just you.
Okay, so they're good. Because I can hear it. But no, again in communication, because my focus of my life is now more into my spirituality and getting close to God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit. So I listen to things and I filter it through that principle, right? And so it's helping me deal with my mind, my will, my emotions, the automatic stuff that happens in the background. It's starting to make me pay attention because the responsibility that I have taken on by being a deacon in church and the two churches, my church and my cousin's church that allow me to speak there, right, on these two different Sundays, that's responsibility, right? And they're trusting me. So I have to be able to be aware of my communication, my choice of words, my thought process, all of that. So I'm taking this information that we're sharing amongst each other and I'm filtering it through my theology. I filter it through my philosophy of landmark education that I follow. And then I filter it through my cognitive behavior classes from the VA, right? And also Caldwell's education. And Caldwell's education actually has a conversation that I'm going to share probably on another episode that helps find the hidden agendas in conversations, right? And it's a skill that I thought I had, but I really don't have it. And so he teaches how to have a conversation and discover the hidden agendas from you creating that conversation with that person and then allowing that person to answer freely. And then you get to take what they say back to you and see if it's even a good conversation to keep having. I was like, wow. And that's Caldwell's education. I'm like, wow.
Yep.
And that's something, again, challenging for me to practice because the fear of not the fear of being rejected, like all that still plays in my mind. So I don't that tool is like still in the toolbox, like in the bottom left corner.
Well, we need to talk about the fact that this is a tool that is in the, I don't even think it may be in the toolbox of a lot of entrepreneurs, because I have had 2 different instances this week alone where people have entrepreneurs have like sent me a connection request, or a friendship request, or however you want to say it, and we connect. And when I connect with people, I am going into it with a let's get to know each other. I don't have a goal to sell you, to make you watch my show, to be your BFF, and now we're going to go to lunch every day. I want to figure out who you are. That's what, because maybe I will be able to help you with something down the road, like once we get to know each other. And I'm getting messages this week where people are right out the gate grilling me with 100 questions. And it's like, I know what you're getting at. You want to know if you can sell me your program by the time we get to question number 10. And the thing of it is I don't like, I'm a straight up person. I have met so many, and I know you're the same with your show as well. I've met so many people that do so many different things. When I am here and in the mood and ready for your coaching, honey, I will come to you. I will come. I don't need you to pitch to me, okay? Because I promise you, I know 80 more people that do exactly what you do. Okay. And it's not, I don't mean that as an insult, but like, take some time to get to know each other. There's so many entrepreneurs, and I purposely shared this episode, this live, to LinkedIn tonight.
Oh, that's
because
there it is.
Some of y'all, I was on a Bathrobe Moments this morning, and Dr. Lauren Harris has a bell he rings when it's a purposeful word he's saying. I need a bell right now. Okay. But like, it's clear, like in those conversations, what they're trying to do. They're trying to get to that sale. And it's like, can you take me to dinner first?
Well, you said the platform name earlier, and that's where I get it all. I'm like, like, do you guys have that on automatic response? Because that was like not even personalized. That was not even personal. It was just like automatic. Hey, your retirement and blah 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 and this, and I'm like, I don't even respond.
And it was part of one of my other opportunities for conversation this last weekend too, is to be like, to recall a previous conversation that was had and say, I don't recall that. And I don't recall us having that same impact out of that initial conversation. So I'm going to choose to not move forward with where you're wanting this to go.
Oh, wow.
and look, I do, because I don't want to waste anybody's time either. And if like, that's a tough thing in communication and in relationships, right? Where you're coming into it with one idea of how you want things to be, and the other person has a very different idea of where they want it to go. Like, how do you handle that? Like, is that what you're talking about with this tool? Like, in the middle?
Yeah, because it allows me to say, hey, this is what I want, where I want to go, what time, what I'm willing to do, what I'm willing, blah, blah, blah. And then what do you need to make that happen? Right? So now you got to go in your brain and be like, oh, I need this. I need A, B, C, D, and E. Well, guess what? You know what? Maybe that's not a good thing, a good look for us right now. So I'll revisit that another day. But thank you, right? Because I got a chance to put myself out there, right? And I had a chance to give you an opportunity to respond, right? But me in relationships, especially when I was younger, Conley made Caldwell 4 years ago. So prior to me to Caldwell 4 years ago, I was the kind of person that would call, you call a girl and be like, hey, are you busy? And they'd be like, oh, yeah, I'm busy. Okay, well, I'll talk to you later. Right. And then I walk away like, dang, she don't like me. She don't have time for me. right? And I've never even said what was my agenda. I never even called about what my intention was calling for, right? So Caldwell told me, he said, Farron, what right woman would tell you that they're not busy the other weekend? Right? How could you, like, of course they're gonna say they're busy. That could be embarrassing for them to say that they have nothing to do with this weekend. But you don't even give that opportunity for them to find out if they're available or not. Yeah. And I'm like, man, that's how I live my life.
Yeah.
So withholding communication is still communication, but the impact on myself all those years was I felt like they don't like me. It reinforced that internal thought process of I'm not good enough, I'm not worth it. Right? So in communication, to get past all those, thoughts of I'm not worth it, that's how you perform. Right? Yeah. You get into performing and you push past that experience. And so I use it every now and then, but it's a tool that I need to definitely unpack and apply, because it really does make a difference, because it gives that. And I look and I've experienced it one more time like this. Like I do health fairs, right? And I'll call a friend and say, hey, I got a health fair on Saturday. Can you come? Can you hang out? Can you come set up with me and hang out with me? Yeah, for sure. Saturday morning, guess who's by himself? At the table, at the booth by himself. And I'm okay with it, but they didn't even call me or anything. And so I don't hear from them from maybe like a week or two later. And I'm like, hey, what happened on, Saturday? Oh man, I didn't have a ride, and so I learned I could say, hey, look, I got a health fair on Saturday, the 24th. I got to be there at 9:00 to set up. I could give you lunch. I could provide you a ride if you need a ride. We'll be done by this time. If you don't want to talk, just help me set up the table and pass out blah, blah, blah. Like, what do you need to have that work for you? And now I've already said my intentions. I've already said what I was looking for. And then now that person gets to look in their life and be like, well, you know what? I do need a ride. I don't have any money, so I can't buy lunch. So yeah, I need lunch. And I need this and that. Now I could be like, you know what? Maybe this event is not good for you.
Yeah.
Because maybe they said I gotta be back by 2:00 instead of 5:00. Right. So now they're telling me everything that they need to make that happen. And then now I could be like, well, you know what? That one is not negotiable because I can't leave the event to get you back.
Right.
So can you get a ride back home, or do you need me to? And then if they can't get a ride, then you know what? I appreciate you. Maybe another event. Right. And now we both communicate. They've experienced being, hey, he asked me to hang out with him and do an event, and I couldn't, and he understood it. And I got to walk away with, okay, at least I asked the person, and I was okay with their answers. But I think we're afraid of the responses. And that's, you made me think now, because in my sickle cell community, a lot of times when we feel like we're a burden on people, right, and because you asked to help me, and the person said no, it's like no forever. So I'm never going to ask that person because they don't have time. And then we suffer because we don't have no support. Right. And so that's kind of how it's piecing in my mind. Like, we've got to be able to communicate the best way effectively, and have to be okay with somebody saying, you know what, I can't help you.
Right.
And I believe that's where the whole rejection can disappear. Right. And then we can even look back in our past at those tools and be like, hey, you know what? It wasn't rejection. It was actually just them saying no. And they really did help me some other times or whatever. But a lot of times those memorable moments we staple in our brain, like, I'm never going to ask my aunt again because she said no and I really needed her and she said no. Well, you got to give that person the ability to say yes or no if you're asking them to do something for you.
Yeah.
And I believe that we want a yes so much that when the no's happen, it's like, I'm devastated. And it's like, nobody cares. And then that's the conversation we have from that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. I love how you brought up the example of like when someone offers to do something, like you ask them to do something and then they're like, okay, and then they don't show up and then there wasn't any communication. And sometimes like I've seen this a lot in being an entrepreneur is people overcommitting. And I am going to take complete accountability for the fact that for the first couple years of my business, I overpromised, I overcommitted, and it was in that because I was still really working on wanting to be liked. Like I just wanted the people to like me, okay? And I wanted because I'm not a person, I don't like to ruffle feathers. I really don't. As much as I tend to be a little bit of a button pusher, I really don't genuinely want to upset people. And I want to be liked and I want to be appreciated and I want to be loved. And so I would overpromise, and because I was coming from that feeling of like not enoughness. And then when I would overpromise and then drop the ball, then I would like not talk because now I'm embarrassed. Now I feel bad. And I'm seeing this now that I'm sort of reformed in that area. Now I'm seeing it with other people being done to me. And I'm like, shit, that doesn't feel good. Like I know that I didn't want to do that, but I eventually I would like to dive into this idea though of accountability on an episode together, because and being a person of your word.
Yeah.
And I feel like that does tie in so much to communication, because to me, and this is something over the last few years on my platform I've talked about, when you speak something, you are literally breathing life into what you say. Every word that comes out of your mouth, you are breathing that out. And when we say something, when we promise something, that means a lot to me. It means a lot to me. And then we don't, I just see so much not taking accountability and not being a person of your word and dropping the ball. And then like, well, I just get busy. And then in the spiritual community, turning around and going, but you shouldn't take that personally.
Yeah.
You know, which I get to a point, but at what point do we take responsibility and accountability for those words that we're promising?
So here's my best example that I learned years ago, and I didn't know it could be this effective. But just like how we do this show, right? We agree that we're going to be here and go live at 3:00.
Yep.
Right. And I've given you my word, right, to do that. But what happens at 3:00? I don't show up. Right. Now, some people will be like, oh, I'll just do the show without him. We're live and Farron's out, blah, blah, blah. And the show goes on. But really, me giving my word to you, saying 3:00, and then you saying, okay, I agree to 3:00. If I don't show up at 3:00 by 3:01, your accountability back to me is to call me and say, hey, where are you?
Yeah.
Right? Where you at? It's 3:01. You know, or some people give people like a 5-minute grace period. But I didn't understand how effective that could be in communication, because when I agree to meet with someone at a certain time, I'm also giving my word to that agreement. And if you don't call me and you say you're going to call me at 5 and you don't call me and it's 5:30, now it's on me just as much as it is on you, because I also gave my word. So was it not important for me to meet with you at 5:00? So now not only do you feel diminished in your experience, but I also now feel diminished because none of us kept our word. And even I didn't have the word, the courage to call you and say, hey man, we're supposed to talk at 5, even if it was 6:00. Hey, and that keeps that person accountable to find out, hey, what's going on? You're supposed to call me at 5. Oh, I got busy, all that. Okay, so see, now my time is valuable too. Right. And so I'm starting to recognize that in myself, because as you said, I have a lot of things, I'm up to a lot. and I carve out time. I remove the word busy in my communication because busy gave me no power. It was like, I don't have time. It's like you ask the person, "What you got to do there?" "I'm going to the grocery store," and it's like, "You gonna be at the grocery store for 8 hours?" It's like that's their whole day is going to the grocery store.
My thing that I'm saying right now is I'm not prioritizing that right now. Like I just, and because that, and it may come off as harsh sometimes, but it's the truth of it, because I don't like the phrase "I don't have time," because we're all given the same amount of time in a day. It's what you do with it. And so, like, going back to the example of someone saying, "I want you to do my program right now," I literally said, I am not going to, even if it was free, okay. Even if it was free, I'm not going to prioritize that right now. I'm not, because I have 800 other things going on. I know that because I know how I am, shiny object syndrome. Okay. Ooh, another program. Whee! Okay. Like, I know how I am, and I'm going to take that. I'm going to sign up for the program, and I'm going to have the best intentions. And then a month in, I'm going to go, I wish I didn't do this because I don't have the time to devote to it. So as harsh as it comes off in my communication right now, I've really been saying I cannot prioritize that right now, or I am choosing not to prioritize that right now.
You just made me think of something that I don't even know if we've touched on in these last 4 episodes. Is it takes courage. It takes confidence in communication. Like, it takes a way to be. Like, you can be frustrated in communication, right? You can be mad in communication. And so how you just said that to me, man, it takes courage to say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to prioritize that in my life today. And that's fine. But it takes courage for us to be able to say those things and not feel like bad and not feel bad. Like to have all that other stuff come with it. And so that's why I don't use busy. I just say I'm up to a lot of things. And if the person wants to meet with me, what I do is I give it back to them and say, hey, give me 3 times and three dates and 3 times that you're available, and I'll agree to one of those times. Right. So it takes the kind of the onus off of me to give back to them to look in their schedule and pick a time. Then I will agree to one of those. Then I know that they're serious, right? And that they want to have a conversation. And so that's kind of how I dance with that, giving my time. Because I can look at my life and be like, okay, they want to meet at 3:00 on Tuesday. Well, I can't do 3, but maybe either an hour before or an hour after, and then now it's negotiable. At least, because I don't like to say. Somebody asked me, hey, can let's set up a call, and I'll say, okay, what about 6:00? No, I can't do 6. So I'd rather give it back to them and say, hey, give me 3 different dates and times that you're available. I'll agree to one of those times. And so that's kind of how I deal with my communication now, and take my responsibility in that part of it. Because some people, you will dance for hours on, I can't do 6. I can do 6:30. No, I can't do 6:30. And it's like, well, we could have already talked right now. We've danced for an hour trying to agree to a time, and we could have just had that conversation today.
I know it.
Yeah.
I know. Listen, I think what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break. I found a quote this week that I want to share with you when we come back, okay. And because I want to show everybody what even participating in conversations like these shows could be healing your whole body as we speak. So we're going to talk about that when we come back. We'll be right back after this. Breakthroughs are about more than you might think. They're about discovering who you are, digging deep, reaching to the core of your soul. They're about healing yourself, understanding your beliefs, creating a ripple effect. And it's not just those initial moments that matter. It's about using them to bring more joy into our own lives and the lives of others. It's about having fun, letting loose, enjoying every moment life has to offer. It's about finding a safe space. It's is about creating connection. Join us each and every day for exclusive programming, special events, and a community to call home, where we invite you to explore, change the way you look at and live your life, and go beyond the breakthrough. So we ask you, are you ready? We'll see you online at thebreakthroughshow.com. Welcome back to Beyond 2D with Jessica Dugas and Farron Dozier. We're so glad to have you here tonight as we finish up our conversation on communication, giving our final thoughts, which likely won't be our final thoughts, but we're going to just pretend like it is.
For this episode, yes.
For this episode. I came across this quote and I want to share it with you.
Okay.
If you have a loving, connected conversation with someone, it will turn on genes that shut off inflammation. Your mind is the most potent pharmacy ever, and it will either drive inflammation or it will stop inflammation simply by your thoughts. Dr. Mark Hyman said that, talked about that this week. Really interesting to know that we could be part of these conversations that are either healing us or hurting us. So I think that speaks to the importance of using more discretion, as what you were talking about, as we make the choice, are we going to engage in these conversations or not?
I mean, that speaks to me directly because, you know, as we get into these other episodes about our thoughts on communication, that's where it starts.
Yeah.
Stress. You can have, they say we have like 6,000 something thoughts a day, and try to stop them.
Yeah.
Like, try to stop them. Like, you can't stop a thought that you already thunk. Like, you can't stop. And so what are driving those thoughts, right? Is it upset and frustration and mad, or is it peace and love and humility and just caring and charity? Like, what are driving? And it could be either one of those at any given time of the day. And that's why they say stress can trigger. That's why they say that your stress can release those free radicals in your body and cause cancer cells to ignite and to gather. And like, so those are all from the thought process. And so him saying about inflammation, for sure.
Yeah.
Our thoughts can drive us crazy.
Yeah.
And I've been in that space, you know, these last few days, just thinking about my dad and the grieving stages. And the thoughts have been just driving me out of my mind. Like, just like, and I know I'm not stressed behind it, but those are the thoughts. And I'm practicing in my grieving process to just be with those thoughts. Like, don't make them mean anything, right? Because that's the next thing that happens. You have the thought, you give it a meaning, and then now if it's a negative meaning, then guess what goes with that? The negative conversations and the negative thought process and the negative talks, and what comes out of my mouth is going to be negative. So understanding that those thoughts and where they're coming from and how I already feel about having those thoughts, the body sensations, I'm learning, like, in this grieving process of 4 years, like, how to just be with those thoughts and those feelings without opening my mouth and validating them, right? And validating those thoughts into reality. And that has been so tough this week, because here I am, a broadcaster, and I want to interview and talk to people, and I don't want to talk. And I don't want to talk because I'm just not in that space to just be like, yeah, I'm interested in what you have to say. But my thoughts are like, oh, your dad, and everything reminds me of my dad. And I'm so glad that in my healing process with him that I don't have any resentment or regrets, because those are not the thoughts. The thoughts aren't, oh, I wish I had it because I wish I should have said this. No, those are not my thoughts. My thoughts are, man, where's that dude? Like, when is he coming back from vacation so we can hang out? Like, those are my thoughts. They're not negative, but they're the ones that are like, where's he at? Like,
yeah,
he's on vacation. He'll be calling me any moment now. Like, those are the thoughts.
Yeah.
But then I know that he's not doing that, and so now I have to experience that loss. And to be engaged with people, like how can I be honest and be like, yeah, let's have a conversation.
Right.
So, but all of that can make us sick. Like, that quote is right on point, and I don't think people really understand how powerful that is of our thoughts. How powerful our thoughts are. Like, we don't really pay attention because we think that our thoughts is us. Because I have that thought, that must be the truth, and then I act on the truth, and it's like, oh, shoot, that was not. I didn't even have to validate. Like, I didn't even have to acknowledge that thought. Oh shoot! But guess what? We're here in 2D, showing you that, hey, you can grab that thought first before it comes out of your mouth.
That thought doesn't have to belong to you unless you claim it.
Exactly. Like I said, we have 6,000 plus thoughts a day.
Yeah.
And as men and women, because we're human beings, we have pretty much the same type of thought.
Yeah.
So how can I not say that I can relate to you with your thought process, because people around the world are having these same kind of thoughts? Because they're human. None of us made it up.
Yeah.
We're born into this condition and these processes and this life and the thoughts that come with living this life. Like, I didn't make that up. So I have to grab the stuff in my mind that works for me, that gives me my power.
Yeah.
Even though I put some stuff in there from my childhood that's corrupted thoughts and corrupted information, but that's me. So I got to be responsible for that. That's not your fault.
Right.
That's not my mom's fault. That's now, I'm an adult now. So now that's on me to figure out what thoughts don't work. And start to develop my communication so I can, be responsible for my thoughts. Be responsible for what comes out of my mouth. If one of those thoughts do slide out, after the fact, I can still be responsible and communicate and catch it. Hey, forgive me, I didn't mean to say it that way. Right? So let me correct that.
First of all, you were supposed to be the one that was supposed to cry today.
I had a little bit right there, but I didn't.
First of all,
I didn't want them to water up all the way. I held it in.
And I gotta get. Listen, I have had these lashes on for 3 shows today, crying like a baby on each of them. Okay, that's some damn good lash glue over here. Anyway. Listen, Brittany said she's getting all sweaty. She's like, I must needed to hear some of this. She said, look, I think it's tough. And we talked about when Michelle and Caldwell were on the show and we were talking about listening, that a lot of times when we go into conversations with each other, we are making assumptions right out of the gate. And some of it could be shifted. Some of that we need to work on. Some of it is just, I think, a natural response. Okay. It just, like Michelle brought up, I'm a girl, you're a boy. Like, there's just some things we go into it with these filters on, if you will. And I think if we could work on remembering that there is a human being on the other side of the conversation that perhaps you didn't spend the entire day with, then that's the beginning of what could be a much better communication process between parties. When I can completely, last night I had the worst panic attack that I have had in years. In years. I'm talking about, went from on the floor in the bathroom to in the bed in my little burrito blanket, okay, and crying and shit, like the whole deal. and and then tossing and turning all night because now the adrenaline's going. Now we've had the whole thing going on, and all I kept thinking is I have to be on 3 shows tomorrow, and I am already tired from all of this.
Yeah.
So when I got up this morning, I didn't want to do a damn one of the 3 of these shows today.
For real.
Okay, but it's hard to communicate that to people when you've given your word and you said I'm gonna show up, then I've committed to showing up no matter what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So if that means that I'm crying on the screen, then if that means that I need to take an extra commercial break because I need to or put Farron on the screen really quick so I can get a sip of water, whatever I need to do, that's what I need to do. But I've committed to showing up, but to take the expectation off the table of what that has to look like.
Yeah, see, that's tough. That's the tough part for me, I believe, because the expectation of having that guest, right? And then in my head, every show that I have in my head is the worst show ever. In my head is the worst show ever. But the guest walks away like, man, when can I come back? Like I got some more to say. Like I'm like, what show were you on? Like,
because here's the thing. I tell all of my hosts on the Breakthrough Show Network, I always say the only person that knows how that show was supposed to go is you.
Yeah.
That we create all kinds of things. And so that kind of circles back even a little bit to that necessary piece when it comes to communication, because they don't necessarily need to know how you thought it was supposed to look. Just let things be what they're going to be. Let them have a good time. Be like, I'm so glad you had a good time on my show because I planned it that way. No one needs to know.
So what you're saying is that some things don't need to be communicated, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And it's not like a communication lie, but like there's just some things that don't need to be communicated, and that's okay.
Because like you said before, even sometimes not communicating is communicating, right? So if you don't communicate, if you don't make if you intentionally don't make a big deal out of something, okay, because the big deal doesn't need to be made for whatever reason, then you are communicating to the other person, it's okay. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. One of my guests a few weeks ago on the phone, he's like, yeah, I'm ready. Yeah, if you need me to be on the show with you, come on and hang out. Bring it. He brought his daughter and son and himself, and we're interviewing. And on the breaks, he was like, man, I'm over here sweating. He's like, this looks different when you're not on the screen. Like, I'm like, yeah, it's a whole different world in real time. He's like, I thought this was easy. Like, yeah, nah, this is not. This is not easy. If you're serious about what you're doing.
Where's my bell?
If you're serious about what you're doing, then this is not easy. So he got a taste of it. And we got done, and he was like, I'm sweating, man. Like, he's like, I lost my train of thought and everything. I was like, I got no time to lose my train of thought, man. I got no time to lose my train of thought.
I'm sorry, I'm just taking notes. Show's over, boys and girls. If that part that you said is so key. If you're serious about what you're doing. Because whether you're talking about accountability or running a show or having a conversation, if you're serious about that conversation, if you're serious about what you're doing, then you should care what's going into that.
Exactly.
What is it? It's like I listen, because I have one of these
Well, I want to hear
is that kidding. What we're doing? Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
Do you know what I play for my I'm the worst mother ever. Okay, ready? Here we go. Do you know the song London Bridge by Fergie?
Yeah.
Okay, you know the not edited version, what it says at the very start?
I
It's
can't.
a guy saying it. Okay, I'm gonna play it for you after the show.
Okay.
Y'all go to Spotify. Okay. So when my kids say something that is noteworthy or mic drop, I play the very beginning.
Okay, I gotta go check that out.
That's I feel like I want that on my show.
So yeah, here we go.
Started something now. Now it's done. We're gone.
Those are the thoughts on communication. I mean, we've dropped 4 episodes previously. All of them have great, communication contexts to them. But my thing before we end this part of the show is, it doesn't mean anything if you're not willing to do that work for yourself. Like, it sound good all day long, but until you're willing to look at your own life and look at how you communicate with yourself, then it just sounds good, and you'll continue to have the life that you have. And then you have to see what is miscommunication costing you. Like, what does it cost us? It can cost you your joy, your happiness, your self-expression, mainly. Like, I believe that's what we've been pointing to, is how this communication thwarts our self-expression of just who we are as people, and allowing people to be themselves in their communication, and not making them wrong because they said the wrong word, because we wanted to hear this word and they should have used this word because I use this word and you should say this. Because I don't use the word busy, and people still use the word busy. And I have to remember that I'm not just because I don't say I'm busy, I can't make people wrong because they still use that word. I used to. I would question it, but just, hey, I know what you mean. But now I can have more conversations about that busyness, right? Because I know it's an experience that comes with being busy, like this anxiety that comes with being busy. Like, I don't have enough time of a day. And that's not necessarily the truth. So when you have that level of communication with yourself and you've learned how you used to be, you can give that person some compassion on how they're communicating, instead of making them wrong and invalidating them. And then I'm misunderstood. And it goes to the point where people even say, I'm the black sheep of the family. Right? Because they're not being heard.
Yeah.
It's like we have all these different ways that we talk about our communication and how it's not working. Yeah. But it's still on us. If I'm the black sheep, then I got to figure out why did I label myself the black sheep? Because I have just as much as that in that conversation as my family does. And maybe I'm the one that's trying to be right and make them wrong.
Yep. You could be the rainbow glitter sheep. Okay, my hope for this series is that and I know I'm gonna go back and watch everything myself as well, because I'm gonna share my hope for all of you as I came into this with the same hope for myself, that you find somewhere that you can check yourself when it comes to communication. Because look,
before you really wreck yourself.
I'm just glad I'm not the only one walking musical over here. Okay. But like, seriously though, because look, we can say all day, oh, I'm a great communicator. Are you though? Are you? Because is there somewhere where you could work on your listening skills? Is there somewhere that are you holding yourself back? Because like Farron said, not communicating is communicating. Okay. So is there somewhere that you can check yourself to improve a little bit on communication? Because when we do that, I just think that there's so much potential. And we learned tonight that you're healing your body. when you engage in impactful and compassionate conversations.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've said 100 times when I got really sick in 2019, doing these shows like this where we can go deep and have meaningful conversations saved my life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm convinced of it because
Mm-hmm.
it gave me such passion about certain topics and purpose, and knowing that I'm putting this information out in the world for other people as well. So where can you check yourself? You see, Farron came with the soft side of this tonight. So where can we have more compassion? I'm like, y'all better check yourself. Okay. Okay.
But the checking are or the checking is you gotta go and find something in principles that you believe in, that you find that match who you say you are today, right? And that's what I had to do. I had to go get new principles and gauge my life up against those, because I know what my mind was going to tell me, and I was tired of that life. So then I had to find principles that I could say, okay, I say that this is what this is, but what does this education say about that? What does the Bible say about that? What does cognitive behavior classes and mental health say about that? Well, guess what? Those are 4 different views.
Yep.
And I'm tired of mine. So then which one fits who I am today? Well, the cognitive behavior ones fit, the landmark education fit, and the Bible fit. So let's pick from one of those any given moment of the day. Right? So now when I have my thoughts, I'm not going to no longer let Farron determine what that thought is going to be about. Let me see what cognitive behavior said. That thought was exaggerated.
Yep.
Landmark says that thought is just a thought that we have, and you don't even have to become that thought. The Bible says, hey, renew your mind anyway.
Yep.
So I'm good because I found 3 different things, 4, that at any time I'm in my communication, especially to myself, I gauge. I mean, it is seconds.
Right.
I gauge off which one am I going to respond to, because I don't want to respond to Farron's anymore.
Yeah.
So I can respond to the exaggerated one and dissect it more because of what I thought about and what I said. Oh, I can't say all or none anymore in my communication because that's not the truth.
Yeah.
All or none sometimes is my own trap in my communication to myself, because if I say all, then I'm stuck.
I love it. I love it. Well, we are going to be
principles.
Yeah, principles. We have a lot of big words we throw at our audience, Farron. I don't know. Are y'all ready for it? Are you ready for it when it happens? We're going to be back in 2 weeks, Tuesday, May 9th. We're not going to be talking about communication, though I'm sure, like I said, it's going to be little themes here and there. However, we will be back to hold your hand as we go down yet another rabbit hole.
I got a flashlight.
Do you? I got some snacks. I got Pez.
That's not even funny.
Thank you for sharing this space with me as usual. It really completed my day, and I always appreciate you, and thank you to everybody who chimed in, and thank you to all of you who will chime in on the replay. I see all your comments on the replay. I appreciate you, and I try to communicate back with you as well. You ready for another rabbit hole in a couple weeks?
I am. Bugs Bunny style too.
Here we go. Alice in Wonderland. Just don't eat the mushrooms.
Oh.
When you get down in the rabbit hole.
I was thinking about April 20th and stuff that just passed.
Well, that was a great day. That's a great day.
For y'all.
Wait, for who?
I don't know. Y'all out there in YouTube land.
Okay. Boys and girls, we're done here today. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Beyond 2D with Jessica Dugas and Farron Dozier. We'll see you guys in a couple weeks for another episode. Let's just take a breath together.
Yeah, ready?
Communicate well, you guys. We'll see you next time. Bye,
Peace.
everybody.